going on, everyone?
Go ahead.
I was just jumping in. We just hit the live button, Brian. So just joining up for our 12:30 show today, and so welcome everybody to this episode of Hard Money Bankers Live. And as everybody knows, we go around and we look for the biggest players in our marketplaces, and what they're seeing specific to real estate, because that's the market that we're all in, and what they're doing during this quarantine time. And Brian happens to be one of those players, one of those guys that is, he's a mega producer in the South Jersey market. And I'm trying to take unique perspectives of everyone that is involved with, maybe a huge realtor in Philadelphia, a big one in North Jersey. So I've been trying to take different perspectives, an investor from Delaware. So all of those types of people have different perspectives to add a very large overall perspective for everybody else. So Brian Reed, enormous producer with his team in the South Jersey market. Brian, what's going on, man?
We're doing good. We put ourselves in a position to have a lot closing right now. However, everyone's kind of, in place right now, sheltered or, quarantined. So, we're allowed to show down here, not allowed to do open houses, things like that. Many people are still doing virtual things, but, we saw, really just a drop off on pretty much everything as everyone else did.
Sure. Are you guys, you said you were in a fortunate position to continue to close, which is a very fortunate position from my understanding with any realtor in general. We'd love to hear that coming out of their mouth. What were you guys able to do, or was it just by chance you had a bunch of closings lined up and this thing hit, blindsided everybody?
So we had, I would say probably by the end of February, 60 under contract or closed by that point. So, we were very fortunate. We came out of the gate. Last year, the shore market typically starts to get slower, once July hits. Everybody's been in. Everyone comes down here in the spring, now, to buy for the summer. Okay. And the fact of the matter is, our market typically starts to dry up in July. Last year, we closed 24 units in October, which is that came, really, really strong. And then things started up. It usually starts up after the Super Bowl. This year, right out of the gate, beginning of the year, we were on just absolute tear, set to break all kinds of records. We sold 92 last year, essentially me and a partner, and we had 60 under contract or sold through the end of February, early March.
Jeez. So you guys were so I guess obviously some of that had to scale back, but it sounds like you guys are still retaining momentum. How are you adjusting with your team? I know you have a team. A few years ago when we first did this, it was just Brian Reed, and you were out there killing it. And then it grew and grew and grew. So now you have a strong team that you work together with. So what are you doing with your team to adapt?
Everyone's doing their own thing, in a lot of different ways. They've increased their marketing, via social media. I tag them on every one of my posts in regards to things that would be, for the team, and for the most part, there are a lot of Zoom meetings, with corporate. They're all doing training, which doesn't necessarily get them more deals right now, but in the future, they're going to be able to better serve their clients and a broader base. So there's a lot of education that's going into our team to adapt to the future. And the fact of the matter is, two of my agents have been doing this for 6 or 7 years. The one I brought in a couple of years ago did 30 last year. One I just brought on at the end of last year, beginning of this year, did 17 as part of another team last year. And she's, 12 or 13 under contract or sold already this year. So, I wish I could say it's me. But it's not, it's a lot of good people that I think are getting more exposure and are, it's a part of the market. It's part of marketing. But for me, the most part, I think it comes down to mindset. I have, at times people will come to me and say, hey, Brian, I got to do this. I don't really have the time. And then they'll stop themselves because they know that with everything that I do and, in the quarantine, people are like, how are you holding up? I'm like, I was 8 months in a one-room hotel room at the Ronald McDonald House with my daughter. I tell everyone I'm like Will Ferrell and Step Brothers when they built the bunk beds. Like, oh my God, I got all this room. I can do this and I can do that. So, we're adapting. Just like everybody else. Or you're dying.
Where do you see it going? Where do you see it going, Brian? Especially in the South Jersey market. What are you guys? I mean, you're educating, awesome. You're preparing for the future, but what does that mean? What are you guys preparing for right now?
So my advice before this hit to my clients who asked whether or not they should sell or not was this. Our market is going to have a really, really strong spring, as it was evident, of things happening. I said we're going to have our typical delay probably around July or August, especially with an election year. We always have that hard pause. And, I had no doubt we were going to see it. In a lot of ways, that hard pause just came 6 months earlier. That's it. The fact of the matter was you either had deals closed or you didn't. It was kind of like 2008 where things shut off. So for me, it's just giving what the advice that I would give to my family. One, if you're a seller and you have to sell, put it up in the market. If your home is worth $300,000, put it up there for $290,000, $295,000. If it's worth $300,000, you're going to get it. Okay. If it's not worth it, you're going to be set up in front of everyone else to get your property sold before others. And what does every realtor hear? Well, I don't want to give it away. The fact of the matter is I treat this like the stock market, the exact same way. When somebody comes to me and tell me they just took a big hit in the stock market, but they've been in it 6 years, say, and they took a 10% hit. Well, no, you only took a 20% gain or 25% gain. I'm trying to put into my client's head the mindset that you're not taking a 5% or a 10% hit. You saw a 30% growth, so you only have a 20% growth rather than a 30% growth. For the buyers, if you don't have to rent, which many people buy as an investment property, they rent because they have to pay their mortgage. I would tell them to pause a little bit, expect that you're still going to get rentals, but it's going to be maybe a little bit less than you normally would because one, more people might have to rent if they're losing their job. So you may see an influx of people, but the fact of the matter is, unlike other times, you might be able to get a 3.5% interest rate, which allows you to buy that much more. Say the properties you're buying at the height. Well, $50,000 is only costing you $200 a month or $2,400 a year. That's an extra week's rental. You're really in a position, if you want to buy, a lot of things are going to come on the market. If you're in a position to sell, there's ready, willing, and able people that have been on the sidelines that are going to buy. So be patient.
Well, I think about you last time we talked, we were telling your story from like the 2008 market. And I like to gain people's perspectives that were in that cycle. What do you see? Like, what kind of similarities do you see or differences do you see between what's going on in the marketplace right now versus the 2008 times?
The differences are huge. For me, they're two totally different arenas. And for me, in 2008, what I saw were a lot of people, one, they were having the ninja loans, no documentation. You're basically just going in there and you're purchasing properties at the height of a market that you couldn't afford. And basically in that market too, people were refinancing their house 2 or 3 times and taking all the equity out to pay off their cars, to pay off their student loans, to pay off their credit cards. And what they were doing was taking all the equity out of their house. And when the market dropped and they had to sell, they got stuck. And that's why we had all the short sales and the foreclosures that we did. And we adjusted at that time. The difference right now is I think everybody that has purchased in the past 5 years has quite a bit of equity in their home. I don't think they've had to refinance. I think if they've kept their job, it's a smart time for them to potentially refinance, take some cash reserves out if they're on the border of potentially losing their jobs, get it in now, refinance, take out, if you have $100,000 of equity, take out $25,000 worth of equity so you don't have to feel that pinch and still be able to sell if you need to sell, if the properties come down. I really think that there's a lot of people that just aren't educated enough on how they can manage what they have effectively and not get hurt in this market. And it comes down to calling somebody who's been through that market, that has seen it, that will think about that, I'm not an order taker. And anyone that was slicing meat, I always used to say in 2005, 2008, everybody who was slicing meat at Acme got their real estate license. And, there's a difference between people that are professionals that have been doing this a long time, that have an educated, a long time, doing this and being able to walk you through those steps.
Well, I mean, it's, I at this point in the game, I've always stood by this, like within a certain margin of region, everybody's about the same intelligence starting from like ground zero, right? The only difference between like, maybe you and I and somebody else that just started 2 years ago is experience. And that's what I think you're talking about. You're like, you're not going to go out there. I'm not going to go out there and say, hey, I'm smarter than you. I'm going to go, I've just been there, done that. And that's kind of what, what you're able to say to your clients is like, look, like this is the next step in the process. Don't be scared, in this scenario, because this is what happens next. I think, I remember very clearly in 2008, and I've mentioned this before, like on the podcast, like the one thing that I noticed that's like distinctly different about this situation is that barring any more, unknowns or catastrophes, there is a finite moment to this ending. Like as soon as it started, we knew there was a finite moment, which is virus runs its course. That's it. It's done, right? It goes away, and that's how it works. Whereas in like 2008, it was like, whoa, we don't know when this is going to end. Like, I don't know if you remember that starting, but you're like, man, we don't know what the answer is tomorrow, if it's going to be an answer, if we're going to lose $1. Like there was this uneasiness that went on for probably like 9 months or a year and a half in 2008 to cause the financial issues that it did. So like, I don't want to say this is like for a guy like you or a guy like me that's been through these experiences that it's easier, because it's not easier in the sense of like there's people dying this time as opposed to people losing their jobs, right? Yeah, it's easier as in like predictable, maybe. It's a little more predictable than even the 2008 was, I think.
So I've been doing this 15 years now. And the fact of the matter is, like, my colleagues, meaning a lot of the brokers, know the amount of business I've done. So my team's done about 170 deals in the past couple of years, right? So they're calling me basically saying, what are you seeing? So I'm sharing my experience with the brokers of all these agents, and they're getting my experience as well. So
that's great.
I know exactly
for that exact reason. That's perfect. So yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, open and honest lines of communication. So if you're saying the same thing I'm saying, we can pass that on to our clients, and we have a huge pool of information to take it from. I think what happened in 2008 is people just continued to chase, thinking it was getting better, just wanting to believe that it was going to get better. And for me, a lot of times, again, the bird in hand, I'll take a 5% loss so I don't experience a 25% loss. What people need to know, I think most importantly, is from this point here, we're not going up in the near future. So if you're expecting, and that's what a lot of people were thinking a year ago, hey, is there 5 or 10 more % of growth in that market? And I would say it then, I'm like, there might be, but there might be 20% downturn. So what do you want to do? When it shut off in 2008, it shut off. It wasn't like it slowed down. It just stopped. We have a temporary stop. It's like some kid pulling the fire alarm in the school. The alarm's going to go off for a little bit, but that there was no fire, and it's going to get flipped back up. So there's going to be inventory, and in any kind of crisis, in any kind of thing, it's going to be the people that adapt and can see through to the end, that there's a light there, and be able to educate those people that are asking them the questions are going to get through this pretty much unscathed.
Yeah, I think like, there needs to be more pain that needs to come. And I think it's coming in the way right now of, people's money are starting to run out. Like the average person's starting to have their money run out, right? That's what's happening. And then you're seeing these protests across the country, and then you're seeing the government push back. You're seeing people be arrested for these face masks. Like we're seeing the civil unrest happening right now. So I don't think we've quite reached the pain threshold that we need to reach. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be deeper and further. And I actually don't know. Like, I don't know if I stand for, let everybody out and let this virus run its course, or stay away, everybody stay indoors, you're crazy if you protest. I don't know the answer. What I do know, though, is that I don't believe we've reached the max pain threshold. And I think I was just reading, or I saw this morning, like the Warren Buffett pain threshold has not been reached yet. I think he's got like some sort of indicator that he uses. And it's like, I think back to like 2008, like you were saying, when it shut off, the pain was at maximum. It was like, not only did it shut off, but then it stripped all the equity out of everybody's house. And the moment everybody realized, because I was wholesaling at the time, so I was very familiar with this, that their equity was gone, was when the market could say, we're coming back. We're nowhere near that. So, I actually wonder more about the fallout things. I do think business will open back up. And I agree with exactly what you said. Like, is there another 5 or 10% in the market to gain? I don't know. But in a market like this, greed is not the emotion you want. It's that's not what you want to hold on to. So, I do think people are going to have to be smarter. I do think there's going to be fallout issues. I think we're going to have economical things that we didn't predict. Like there could be a supply chain stoppage somewhere along the way that they're going to blame for, right. I saw one in China. They were talking about like a food shortage or something because they didn't like produce something for 90 days. Like there's going to be stuff that we couldn't see happening that's going to show up. And I do think it'll go for like 6 months or a year or whatever. I'm just guessing. But I do believe, though, there will be business to be done through this. I think you would agree with me in that, and probably your team would agree, that the talented individuals that were able to get a head start on this, like, fortunately or unfortunately, are going to go from, Brian, you were killing it. You have a temporary stop. You're going to be, we're experiencing this now in Hard Money Bankers. You're going to be the only game in town. Like there's no realtors that were just coming on doing a deal or two a year that can't not afford to go out and get a job now. They can't be realtors. So it is what it is. You guys, your squads like yours are, and companies that stayed in business through this their doors will be flooded.
And we're owned by Warren Buffett, the Berkshire Hathaway. Yeah. So, one of the things too that, most people don't realize is that people aren't just running out of money now. They ran out of money as soon as they didn't get their next paycheck. Like that was it. Like, 80, 90%. Well, how many people are living paycheck to paycheck? That was really it. So now where do you go? What do you do? Do you have 2 cars? You and your, yes, it's really, really convenient to own 2 cars. Well, if they're paid off, like there's money for you. Like I said, to do the cash out refi, if you haven't lost your job yet, and you could see it on coming, everyone as at home, are you cleaning out your closets? Or, what are you doing? Is it going on eBay? What are you doing with that stuff? I personally think that, we should have a community-wide free yard sales. So like everything that you cleaned out, you put it out there. If somebody wants to come and get it, you don't judge anybody, whether you need that because you need it, you need clothes on your back. You want to put food out there for other people as well. You can have a free section and a for sale section, which is fine as well. Don't judge the people coming if they have a store or if you see it on Facebook Marketplace next week. Maybe that's what they're doing to make their money. So take all that stuff, put it outside, and say, hey, look, once this is over, obviously I don't want to create hysteria, but, these communities, why not allow people to come in and take some things and either make money or get the necessities that you were going to sell for 10 cents on the dollar. Down here, we have a huge warring faction right now. We don't have a lot of cases down here. We have 1 hospital in the entire county. And we were seeing, Facebook groups are being brought up to say, stay away. Second homeowners, tourists, visitors, do not come down. And, the fact of the matter is, like, most of my clients are second homeowners. I moved down here 15 years ago. To me, again, I see just a ton. I see those people that live down here that are telling you not to come down, and they're out at the grocery store pulling their mask down to read their phone and then grabbing something, and they're going there with their kids, and their kids are like, can I have this Cocoa Krispies? no, go put this back. And then I'm putting it back on the shelf. Like, so going back to, do we open it up? Do we not open it up? Down here, we're going from stay away to we got to open up because we have boardwalk businesses that have already rented for the year. You have a lot of these businesses that are only open 4 or 5 months that are going to completely fold. And I feel for them on this side. I'm going to lose a lot of money over the next few months. And, I don't talk about how much money that is, but it's a lot of money. And it's probably more than most of these brick and mortars that, are relying on that extra month of May. That's really, really like low, and they have a 10 or 12% margin, whatever it is. I can almost guarantee you that over that same span, I'm going to lose as much, if not more money. But I'm telling people to, look, I'll show you the property virtually. If you come down, we're only going to look at that one property, maybe two. I want all decision makers there. You can go home. I can do everything online. We're pushing for online notary, which we don't have yet in New Jersey. We're not allowed to, so you have to come down and sign the mortgage package.
We were just talking about that. Yeah.
For me, with the people coming down, I think you were hinting to it with the realtors. How many people are going to go get another job? How many of these places, would our island and islands benefit from a third of the businesses folding? So those that were just hanging on, maybe they can grow and maybe they can expand and they can make more money to hire more people to do more things, rather than some people barely holding on by a thread year after year. Maybe they have to innovate. Maybe they have to do something new and bring value instead of just having another T-shirt shop up on the boardwalk.
I think, you're going to see so right now so business in general, I think, is very diluted, even in your world, even though in my world, so my world, the doors closed for other competitors like 3 weeks ago. So it was like a light switch in my business. It was like, we got the notice that, the big Wall Street funder that was like funding the other companies said, we're not lending anymore. And then the only people left standing were guys like us that had like private money. And I was like, it was like a light switch. So it was very diluted in my industry. And then all of a sudden it wasn't. I think what'll happen is like when the retail market opens up for like you guys and like the T-shirt shops and whoever else survived that play, like it's not diluted anymore. There's no like hobby realtors that are going to be hanging on for 3 months. It's just not there. So,
and you guys have to be, affected simply because a guy like me who knows his market up and down, when somebody says, look, I'm going to buy this house and I'm going to fix it up, just like the one down the street that sold for $235, what do you think I can get for the property?
Right. The question is, and
I'm not sure. And these guys are the same flippers that are coming to you for the money. If I don't know what it's going to be worth, you guys don't know what it's going to be worth.
That's the realization.
No, because they're always optimistic that their price is here.
Oh, exactly.
I always tell them here, and it's probably somewhere in between.
Yeah, that's the realization we're noticing a lot of people come to, that when we give them our value back, we say, yeah, we don't know where the market's going to be in 2 months. So that risk is on you, not on us to take. So it's a coming to reality of where we are that we're seeing with our borrowers for sure on deals like that.
The comps I trust are the ones that are coming in June.
Yep.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Because those are the ones we're going to see recorded. Like right now, I've been saying this in the MLSs and so forth. We are still dealing with pre-virus comps. Like that is like, so it's weird because like as fast as in technology is right now, like people don't know what those new comps are going to come in at. And then you're right. It's going to be June. It's going to be July, in our business, fortunately, like, so what happens for us is, sure. Like we're going to, we're already accounting for some sort of depreciation. I don't know how much, but we're definitely conservative on our numbers. But really it's going to be like, as long as the retail market opens back up and there's houses selling, you're going to see projects that took an extra 90 days or 120 days to sell because they were locked down for that period of time, but the loan goes on for the year, whatever it may be. I'm sure there'll be fallout. I'm sure there'll be issues we have to deal with as well. But you're 100% correct in that.
And here's one of our biggest issues.
Yeah.
Is when I'm selling in March and April, and I got somebody that, and in these markets, you know, every year, especially in the spring, property values go up, regardless of whether the market came up at all. Your house is going to sell for more in March or April than it is in November and December. But our comps are a lot of times from November and December. So we're fighting with appraisers to say, hey, look, I know the industry didn't come up, but this house is worth 5% more because of when they're purchasing it. And one, because they don't have that carry, and or they have potential rentals coming in, but the rentals can't be utilized. It's just more of a, it's an enigma in the market. And the fact of the matter is, you're going to have, like, I love Facebook posts where someone says, hey, I'm a local realtor to the Wildwoods, and they're from Cherry Hill or Marlton. You know, like, you don't know that 15th Street, you know, back on Delaware Avenue is going to flood, you know, and you put your client in there. Or the fact is that you may or may not be able to explain to your person why this property on this side of the street is worth less than the one on the other side. And that's why, you know, I constantly see people that have overpaid for properties dealing with somebody from outside the area. So, I mean, it's crazy. You guys use a couple block radius in Philadelphia.
Not even.
Yeah. So, right.
Yeah. I mean, it's a time for experts. Like, you know, there's, you know, as the money gets tighter, you know, like you said, like what you just said, there's a whole lot to it. And people are like, oh, well, you know, he knows his market well. But you're like, literally, I could tell you, you know, this block, this street, across the street, you can't cross that. You got to do that. Like, when you don't have, here's the one thing that's not coming in right now. You're not going to have, as we call, and I don't want to, this term, it's a term, so I'm not like trying to insult people. It's called dumb money, right? We no longer have that playing right now. So dumb money meaning, like, you know, somebody's pulling up their IRA from California. They've never invested before. They've got an excess of cash and they want to get into this market. You're going to see savvy investors, your sure buyers. My guess is they're going to be like very, very liquid and very familiar with the Jersey Shore in terms of they're probably not going to be getting the buyers from Florida trying to buy that Jersey house and paying tenfold what they should be paying for. You're going to have people paying like realistic numbers. And we're expecting right now in our marketplace that will cause a price drop because qualified buyers go up. Not qualified buyers stop buying because their IRAs are crushed right now. And that kind of stuff where they're pulling money out of the market that was giving them ridiculous returns. And we're left with really strong buyers with a lot of inventory, I think is what we're going to have to see. I don't know though, on the inventory front, when we're going to see that, because one thing that's really weird right now, and I don't know if you're experiencing this, is that retail is holding off listings. I don't care what anybody says. They're holding off listings because there's nobody to see. Mm-hmm. So like the inventory, is it going to just?
I'm holding
at once?
Like I told my clients to wait. You know, some of them.
Why would you put it out right now? Yeah.
You want top dollar, right? Like, you know, there's nobody looking. Now, that being said, I am a secondary home market. Most of what I sell is along the shoreline on a barrier island. However, through the years, I've branched out a lot and I do a lot of other spots. My office right now is in Avalon, New Jersey. My primary market is the Wildwoods and offshore, kind of down in that area. The greatest number of sales are in two spots, the Wildwoods and offshore. The offshore market's staying somewhat strong down here because it's a lot of primary homeowners, or that those numbers that are a little bit less in the lower 200, to $300,000 range. The Avalon Stone Harbor markets. Now you talk about dumb money, and I'm going to use another term. You also have FU money. That it really doesn't matter. That I'm not taking a hit. I'm buying cash 2.5 for a tear down on the bay. That's still happening, but that's a whole different ball game. Now, what you'll see, and I think we discussed this before, I always called it, and I think we mentioned it before, the Martha Stewart effect. Like I'll see online, people are like, well, what stocks you buying right now? I'm like, anyone that gets listed below here, like, don't buy. If everybody's telling you to buy something, like, you should be selling. But it's just what happens at the shore markets. You have a lot of people in Avalon and Stone Harbor. The average sales price is $1.6 million plus. Okay, they're the CEOs, the CFOs, the owners of these companies. They are in the know whether they will tell you or not, whether it comes to stocks and all that kind of stuff. They can see the writing on the wall well before you do. And the fact of the matter is, if you watch what those markets do, the Stone Harbors, the Avalons, the Cape May, those markets, when they stop selling, you're going to then see it in Ocean City, then you're going to see it in Sea Isle, and then eventually you're going to see it into the Wildwoods and some other. The more blue-collar people, which a lot of the Wildwoods are. There are a lot of our service workers, a lot of our firefighters, a lot of our police officers, a lot of our nurses. I love them to death. I mean, that's what makes the Wildwoods the Wildwoods. The CEOs and CFOs are going to know before the rest of us do. The government, they know when to sell. They know when this sanction is going to be put in place, with this country prior to you, and they get out. It's the same. It's the same that happens everywhere. And that's why, I don't follow, and I don't follow trends that way. I follow the trends by highly educated people that tell me about the writing on the wall based on what they saw in the last economic downturn. It just blows my mind sometimes, the stuff that I read. So I'm sure you guys are doing the same thing.
Yeah, I think we talked about this on the last one. I'm glad you brought that back up, which is last time you were talking about the ability to be look, when this we were talking about what if there's a crash, and then all of a sudden we had our crash. So you're like, this is what happens next, and you're right. There's two things, right? So I think if I remember from my economics days, you have a group of buyers specifically near you that are inelastic, they're considered inelastic buyers, meaning when gas prices go up or down, the average middle-class person is affected by that. But when you have people like you're talking about, the FU money, there is no price supply and demand that they care enough about. It doesn't matter. It has no effect on their life. So they exceed that elastic versus inelastic pricing of housing, essentially. And then you're right in that, the whole point of smart money, dumb money is, if you're dumb money, which we're all dumb money compared to that, you're talking, you can't go and get a $3 million house and knock it down. That's smart. That's really smart money. Our dumb money, us, has to follow smart money, right? So following smart money, you don't front run smart money. You have the inside track. So really the best place for everybody to find out when this thing's going to bottom out is when Brian's on the phone with a few CEOs calling, going, hey, we need to buy now. We need to knock this house down. We need to do this. That's your bottom, because they are going to be in front of everybody else. Obviously it's not one guy is going to be able to tell you, but when you're getting 4 and 5 calls from people that don't know each other asking for this thing, you'll know personally that we're there.
Yeah. My wife and I were looking to buy in a duplex literally a week or two before this all happened. All makes sense. I mean, property's still there. We were going to go above asking, for a duplex, 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, 2 blocks to beach in North Wildwood, tenant in place, 1,200 hours downstairs. Probably would have gotten $1,400 a month if we wanted to rent it out on a regular basis. If I wanted to rent it weekly, I would have got about $1,800 for about 10 weeks. 3 offers came in on that property, or 2 offers, 2 or 3. Everyone backed out. The property's still on the market, and the tenant got spooked. The tenant left, but we were going to go over asking, and it was worth over asking. Now it still sits on the market, can't get asking. So, that to me is one of those situations where had everything waited a week to close down, I'd be owning a duplex and a third property in North Wildwood. So
that's fortunate timing for sure. And
I would have made that work too with the interest rates. Having 2 full-time renters in there, if that's the way I had to go, that's what I would do. Now, I have people that own 2 or 3 properties down here that rent on a weekly basis, and I've gotten that call, Brian, what should I do? I'm rent one of them out on a full-time basis, so you have guaranteed income coming in on the one. The people that you had renting in May or June, offer them September or October. Because if this still goes, and people don't go back to school in September because we don't have a vaccine or whatever it would be, and things open up in August/September, say it gets delayed, September's probably the best month ever to come down to the shore. It's beautiful. The ocean's warm. So move them there. May, move to October. So instead of losing that, say, hey, look, I'll move your everything to October. Instead of the 4-day weekend, I'll give you a week in October. So why don't you come down in October? Redoing things, offer them a discount, book them for next year at a discount. I'll hold your money this year. I'll book you at a 10% discount next year, same week. There's a million things you could do. If I had a storefront, I would be going to all these different food manufacturers. I don't care where you could be doing gift cards. Go buy a freezer, go get meat, chop it up, have a 5-pound chicken breast, 5 pounds of turkey, sliced turkey, American cheese rolls, sell that for 10% markup and deliver these packages. Make $20 a package, do 20 a day. You're making $400 a day. What's that? $12,000 a month, on delivering people essential goods that they need. They don't have to come out of the house. If you're fortunate enough that you can donate it, that's beautiful too. But there's so much opportunity to be had in any situation. You just have to open your eyes and go after it.
It's just changed, right? I think the thing, and then one thing I've learned about like guys like you, like like the high producers across the show. The one thing has been everybody kind of has the realization of like what the hell just happened, right? You have your first week of like coming to grips, like landing on your feet, but then everybody quickly started adapting, and like you start like you don't sit still and go, all right, this is what used to work a week ago. This is no longer going to work, and then the high producers adapt quickly. Is definitely what I've noticed. They're disciplined and they adapt quickly. So whereas I think other people are just when you hold on to something that is no longer going to exist as the new norm, you get behind. And then just like literally like if you take like these Zoom meetings and stuff that we were doing, like it was like probably a week in, and we were like, my partner and I the same night, I was like, yo, we need to do these because this is the new norm. And then it was like, I didn't start it obviously, but like, it was like, I could see everybody starting to trickle in after that, then started making like, a consistent thing. And it wasn't because of me. It was just that we all kind of started to come to that realization at this certain speed. So you need to be like with that if you were going to be doing that particularly. And just like you're saying, like there's opportunities that come up, and the faster you're in front of them, the quicker you adapt to it, the better off you'll be. It'll just be different. It won't be better or worse than before. It'll be different. And
I just did a Zoom call. I was in a training class for Long and Foster, and they send it out to all their agents. And basically, I'd been asked, what kind of tips or tricks? Does anybody have tips or tricks? There's 150 people. I'm not shy. I unmuted, raised my hand, and talked about something. The following week, I was teaching a class on social media marketing, specifically Facebook, and the headline of it was how Brian went from insignificant to a market leader. And these are classes that I've done. Not usually I do 60 to 90 miles outside of my area. I'll go into a brokerage firm and go in front of 20 or 30 of their agents and teach what I've learned in a way for me to get referrals. So they put that out there, and like, Long and Foster will typically get 150, 180 people on a Zoom call. We had 387 people on that Zoom call. And, it was about an hour of me kind of doing little tips and tricks of things that you can do on Facebook to grow your business. And the online yard sale was one. To me, I'm going to start going with my daughter and reading each night a different Disney story to give parents a break, 15 minutes. So like go do your thing for 15 minutes, put your child in front of the thing. It'll be, my daughter's name's Devin. We're going to do Devin's bedtime stories, just to give parents a break. It's long days. There's just a ton of things. And, I'll tell this to your people, your brokers, if you're outside and you're not selling at the shore and you want me to do a Zoom call and you can get 20 to 25 agents on there, I will teach your agents how to grow your business. I went from maybe a dozen deals to 24 to 52 to 92. So like each year and essentially doubled my business like 3 or 4 years in a row. And that's for an agent that was already a decade in the business. So, and I was asked a question like, well, what about a new agent coming on? I'm like, you have every advantage in the world over someone that's been doing it 25 years. They've been doing it the same old way. Real estate doesn't get done the same way it got done 5 years ago, let alone 10, let alone 20.
Yeah, I think, so there's like pivot moments in a career that people have. And obviously you had yours that just accelerated your growth. And Ryan would agree with this. So our father used to be he would golf for 20 years and he would never, he was like always at 90, maybe 100. right?
The world's
But
best 90 golfer is
the
what
world's
we
best
like
90
to call
golfer,
him.
yeah. Yeah, but like, and he was happy with that. But like, the point was, it's like, well, why didn't you go down to 70? Why didn't you go down to 60? How come after 15 years? And it was exactly what you just said. He didn't change. And that was what it required. Now, he was happy as hell playing the way he did. But like, as far as a realtor that's been doing the same volume for 20 years, like at 10 or 15 units a year, and they've never had these accelerating moments, is because they're stuck. So I always get that phone call and people are like, hey, I've been in the business 30 years. I'm like, I probably done more deals this year than you've done in 30 years. And I don't compare myself in that way, but I'm like, what does that mean experience wise? What has your business done? What is really impressive, and there's been a few guys, probably about 5 to 10 that I know in our marketplace publicly, including yourself, is when you, in the last cycle, all of a sudden you see this acceleration track. Because they figured something out. Something happened that clicked. And that is really what I think when people, whether it's an agent or anybody in the investing world, when you see that, and I mean like true, sometimes you see people that get a little ahead of themselves, but like when you're specifically being a realtor, like 3 years doubling your business is incredible. Especially in a market that was like, I mean, for what it's worth, like you said, anybody could be cutting meat down in Acme and be a realtor. Like that's what's been going on in the last 3 years. So you were in a diluted market, doubling your business every year. So I think
and what you're seeing as well, not only those few that are accelerating, what you've seen is a massive, like the people 10 years ago that were the market leaders in my industry. A lot of them are almost non-existent. Now, part of that's age, part of that's just not adapting. Part of that is, there's probably just a million different reasons that I don't know about. But I mean, you definitely see, and it's crazy. I've posted every single day in regards to either real estate or this area since November 1st, 2016. I have that date. It's written down. That's my date. How many ever days it's been. And people have watched it. It went from, oh, what's this guy doing? Literally in a new office, walking in, people were at 8:30. I'm sitting there doing a live video, and people were like, what's this guy doing? To, flash forward like a year later, oh my God, what's this guy doing? I need to watch and adapt. Now, people have seen my growth. It's been documented. They've seen me go from insignificant, essentially, to a market leader. I've showed them every day.
Did Brian freeze on your eye?
Yeah.
Brian, I think we might have lost you. Hopefully his internet might be.
We're in the middle of a good.
I know. That was like the moment. That was like the
teaser.
That now you have to tune in tomorrow to see the rest.
To be continued. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. You lost. Oh, there we go.
Right,
we were just saying that was. Yeah, go ahead.
So basically, I'll go back and say, like, you watched me. I've shown you what I do. I show you how to do it. It's all been documented. It's all 100% online. I've offered, like, in agents in my office, I will sit down with you, show you what to do for years. And then, like, occasionally I'll get somebody that says, hey, Brian, like, I'm going to take you up on that offer. And I have one woman who asked me that, like, last year. I said, do me a favor. I'll do it for you. I'm all in. I'll give you a couple hours of my time, and I'll take you through, like, my class. And she goes, I said, I only have one caveat. We'll do it 30 days from now, but I want you to post something on Facebook every single day for the next 30 days, and I'll give you a couple hours of my time, and I'll show you how to grow your business.
No, really?
Like nothing. Like, if I give you, like, if you sit in on one of my classes, I can guarantee you I will get you a couple deals, or at least teach you how to lead generate to the point that you're actually getting busy. And I do that shit for free. Like I'm going along in Foster, like teaching 380 agents. I do that for free. I have one tomorrow that I'm sitting in on a panel to discuss things. I'm just looking for referrals. I don't even expect it. You know what I mean? If I get it, I get it. I want people to be like, oh, look, I got a guy at the shore. Like if you know me, if you're connected to me on Facebook, like, I'm your guy down the shore, whether it's Wildwood or whatever those areas are. Like, you don't not know what I do for a living.
Right.
And
I mean, you're a household name in down, like if I think, I mean, in my world, right? So if somebody goes, hey, I need a realtor down the shore, like I'm sure and I hope I don't offend anybody that's watching this, but like, I'm going, hey, Brian Reed, like look for Brian Reed, look up Brian Reed. Here's Brian Reed's. I mean, that's how it is. So I'd imagine if I'm doing that, anybody else. And so that was just an incredible amount of branding that you've done.
And if you watch me, I mean, the thing I'm most proud about is if you watch me, you also like, I filter in enough that you see who I am, what I'm about, how I care, what I do, stuff with my child, with my family. You never see me out. You never hear a bad thing about me. And the fact of the matter is, like, I couldn't do the amount of business that I do, and I couldn't put myself out there the amount that I do online and not have a constant barrage of this guy's a jackass, like, or this guy treated me wrong, or like I wouldn't be able to post like I do. You never see it.
That's a really good point.
And I'm not an angel. You know what I mean? I'm not saying I'm the best guy in the world, but you're never going to have one of the clients come up and say, like, this guy did me wrong. I'll make it right.
That's a good concept. So like, I think about that with like HMB too. Like we're always out there. And I'm like, the easiest way to find out if you're legit or not is check the feedback. Like one of the hardest things to do is all you need is like one pissed off customer and it makes you look like the 100 that you did. So like when you have none, or, even when you only have one or two and you're doing the volume you're doing, like you're willing to put yourself out there because you're willing to say, like, I'm putting my money where my mouth is kind of thing.
And you don't have to defend yourself anymore. Your clients will do it for you. Like
that's true.
If I post something and someone says something, there's going to be a couple of people like, yeah, you don't know him. Like that's not what was meant. That's not who he is. Yep. And I posted something today. I took it down because I'm like, that's not the image that I want to present.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, there's no negativity.
A lot of consistent branding in terms of who you are, and then it's like, here's my product, but then like you have to deliver that all the time, every day, back in and out. So like our consistency with the product we deliver on our end as well is the same thing, because you have to provide that, or else you're gonna get knocked off this branding thing real fast because people won't put up with it. It's like a double-edged sword having that kind of exposure at your level too. I didn't even think of that. But it's true. It's very true. So Brian, what would you leave people with today, like moving forward? I mean, you had some really good information in here, but what would you say to, hey guys, this is what the next 90 days looks like down the shore, as they say?
I've been telling everyone consistently, don't try to sell anybody. Like, just let them know that, we're all getting inundated. I mean, how many times in the past month did you get it from anybody you ever signed up for? Like, hey, just want to let you know I'm here for you. Like, just, like everybody's doing it. To me, I'm like, I post something, the other day, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And I think if you're empathetic, if you're out there, like I thought about calling everybody in my database, just starting with A in my phone, like thousands of contacts, just to call up and say hello. I probably don't even know who most of them are in there anymore, but like, just to let people know that you're there for them. I can't, the whole adage from Mother Teresa, I can't cast a stone, or I can't change the world, but I can cast a stone and create a lot of ripples. To me, what I'm putting out there is I'm here for you. We had a storm down here the other day. I put it out there. You need me to check on your property? Let me check on your property. I know you don't want to come down here 90 miles. I've done that video, I don't know how many times, through Hurricane Sandy, through Jonas, all that kind of different stuff. I'm not trying to sell anybody. Like right now, I'm not trying to sell. I'm just trying to consult. And I'm here to talk to whoever it is about whatever it is, whether it's how our rental is going to be affected. Maurice Pier collects, has my money for my season pass. Is this restaurant going to be open? Who's doing takeout? When can I get on the beach? Where do you see the market going? All the stuff that we've talked about. My wife gets tired of hearing it, and I'll go into the other room and I'll do whatever it is. But if you get me going, I will talk to you about everything, and you're always going to get honesty. I don't have to sell you a house. I don't have to sell a house in the next 2 years, and I'm okay. And when I can walk into a property and not pressure you or tell you this house is great, you should buy this one, like, it's so much you put somebody, you disarm them so quickly, knowing that I'm not trying to sell you a house. I'm trying to, help you live a dream in the best way possible. So don't sell anybody right now. Nobody wants to be sold. Just be compassionate. Be there for them for whatever it is they need.
Love it, man. You're good. You're a good guy, Brian. And we've been scrolling across the bottom, but anybody that wants to contact Brian, been scrolling across the bottom. His number is right there, 609-848-4041. And so Brian's got a cool new the Beach Homes hat there. Can you see that? Or dare I say, if somebody asks for one, you'll send it to them? Or is that too much? You can come back.
Yeah, if I can get to the post office. My big thing is I don't have any kind of packaging. Like listen, it's when you come down to the shore, I will drive to you and meet you and drop off one for you, your kids, and your family. Or come to my office and just come. Like I usually leave them out front to the with the girls. Like just come to my office, or let's go get an appetizer. Let's go get coffee. If you're a runner, you can go run, and then I'll meet you early morning for coffee or whatever it is, and I'll come down the beach. I'll sneak up on you. Just let me know what street you're on.
Nice, man. All right, Brian, you have a good one. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks, guys.
Take care.